I'm excited to introduce my sister, Lindsey. She's 9 years younger, but she's actually had more experiences in life than I ever have. And she's also taught me more than I could ever teach her. She's always been gifted, and I had to fight with her over the internet when we were kids. She has some amazing stories we're going to hear today. She stepped on an anaconda is one of them, getting lost in Africa, and also helping save lives in Hurricane Sandy. That was in New York area.
Hey, you're too flattering. I think you could have told a lot of stories that would make me look not so interesting too, but thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
I am so excited to hear your stories because I just know you as Sarah's little sister that married a doctor. You've always been adorable and smart, and I want to hear your stories.
Can you pronounce her last name, Jessica? You don't have to, but I was just wondering if you ever looked at it and thought, what the heck?
My God, I know it's Ivan. What's his last name?
Dikushkovsky, but fun fact, I actually didn't change my last name. So I have Dikushkovsky on Facebook, but I'm still Lindsey Plosek.
So it's all a lie.
Yeah, tell us why, because I did the same thing. I just felt like it was like ripping me of who I was. I just couldn't do it.
So you still have your original last name too?
I do. I just added Karis onto the end because, my dad had passed. Well, yeah. So it was just a lot. It was really hard for me.
Because I felt like I built my business and my brand around my name. And, at first I thought I'd change it when I had a kid and it might make things easier. But honestly, I don't think anyone cares anymore. And I still use Dikushkovsky when I want to, right? Like on Facebook and if I want to write it. But just professionally, it was going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. And people get really confused over my name a lot, though. I have a lot of problems with it.
I have an issue that you guys didn't change your last names because you fooled me because your Facebook was different names. So I did change my name and I'm the one most affected. Do you know how hard as a realtor it was to not only change my name, but also change my real estate name?
Your licensing and stuff? Yeah.
Everything changed.
It's crazy.
I tried not to. I was like, I'll put it on Facebook. Brian's like, that's not the way things are. I was like, that's old school.
Yeah. So Lindsey, was Ivan distressed about it? Like Ron was a little put off by it.
Ivan wasn't distressed about it. Yeah, you know what? I think we are just true millennials.
Yeah. It's an age, Jess.
I love it. I want to be a millennial, Lindsey. I just don't know how. I'm not.
Yeah.
I can't if I wanted to. I couldn't.
Just Google it.
It's so hard. It's like a total different way of thinking. Relating is really difficult for me.
I would have to agree. It definitely comes with some positives and some embarrassing negatives, but a lot of stereotypes about us I find are very true.
I just feel like everyone's overly sensitive, and I grew up in not the best environment. Like everyone just said what they wanted to say. And so now, as an adult, that got me in a lot of trouble. That's not a simple thing to stop doing. And nowadays, it's totally frowned upon.
I love that you're like that. Somebody has to be. We wouldn't be very entertaining.
Well, this is true.
I love it too. And I think it's going to make a comeback.
All right. I hope so.
Honest and raw. So let's start. I want to ask you a question because I just have to catch up. I barely get to talk to you. We're both living on different sides of the state. And country, not the state.
Just not in your state.
I did not do good in geography.
Me either.
Or science. I was pretty good in math. But Lindsey, that leads me to my first question. Lindsey was good at everything. She was helping me with my homework when we were growing up. Not really, because she wouldn't be old enough, but she was always in the gifted classes. Lindsey, tell us how that happened. I don't remember, but when you were little, did they say, look, she's too smart, she can't be in here?
You're too smart, Lindsey.
So When I first looked through the questions, I was laughing because I didn't think of myself as so smart or interesting, but I actually feel like having older siblings really helps you a lot. So my siblings, you and Brad, were like 9 and 12 years older than me. And I remember you allowing me to hang out with your friends and stuff. So I read that when you have a big age gap like that, you start speaking at a younger age and you do sort of advanced things because you're around a lot of adults and older kids. So I think that's sort of what happened for me. And then I think the other thing is that I spent a lot of time with Aunt Sandy, who loves to read and write and all of those things. And, she just encouraged me a lot. And then our next door neighbor was homeschooling her kids. So even though, our family was just having fun, and I wouldn't say not the most intellectually obsessed with what I love about our family, I would go next door and get like extra school at their house. So it just kind of was lucky.
That's
I
very
made you
cool.
Yeah. Opposite of me, that's for sure. And I remember I hated the fact that you would get internet time too. And I'm like, what is she doing over there? She's 4. I'm trying to talk to a boy in Australia on this dating AOL dial-up app. And here I have to give you time on the computer.
So you can write stories when you're 4.
Yeah, I think you did, though. Yeah, tell us a little about that.
That is very funny. Yeah, so I feel like when I was around 4 or 5, we got our first computer, and I just started making all these friends online from different countries around the world. And I found them on this 1990s website where you would share your stories and poems. And it was a bunch of nerd kids from all over, like Panama, Singapore, Turkey, all these places. And some of them taught me how to build websites and like edit and work on websites. And we had a very popular Harry Potter website.
Shut up.
I work on with a sorting hat, and you could teach classes, like potions or whatever. And it really looked a lot like Reddit does now, but it was all Harry Potter themed.
Love that so much.
It was fun. It was fun. And I now work in like futuristic tech nerd stuff. And I think, that's part of the reason why.
Website information. She can do her website too.
Yeah, well, that'd be freaking awesome. You're not a web whiz.
That's funny. And I told you about that website too, the Wayback. I don't know if you checked into it, but if there's stuff that was missing, this Wayback site is supposed to allow you to pick things up that got lost. So remember you said there was a website you used to go to that no longer exists. It might be like something like that where you could find old poems or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out. I think I did use it once, and I found something I posted when I was like 8 or 9, and guess what it was about?
What? Me and my kids?
I just learned about this little topic called climate change.
Oh,
and
wow.
about what I had learned. And to read that now was it was emotional, honestly.
That doesn't make sense from what you wrote back then till now. Like, is it that's why it's emotional?
Living in the state of California, and look, I know there's a lot more to what's going on with the fires, but just a lot of the things I wrote about are absolutely things that are in our news all the time. So, but I think that having the internet at that age was like a good place to go and share your thoughts and feelings and relate to others. And I do feel like that's influenced my generation a lot.
Lindsey, yeah. I think you're like constantly learning, right? And I think this is like really cool about you is just you're so intellectual. Because when Sarah first I'm using your because when Sarah and I were first learning online, the only thing we did was get in AOL chat rooms and talk to old men. So you were on a different level altogether.
We didn't know they were old.
Actually, I got there, right? Everybody gets there by like 5th or 6th grade. But yeah, I think when I was much younger, I just used it for nerdy little kid stuff.
God, I love it. I love it so much. It's very cool. I know your mom was really proud. She would make you read me books. And I remember you reading me something about a busy town. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I remember Busy Town. I think I even got a book like this for Mateo recently from the library.
Yeah. So you introduced me to the world of Busy Town, and I can still see the characters in my head.
That's
It's a Sega
funny.
game. It was the best Sega game.
I didn't know that, but yeah, I do. I just love that. It's very
So funny you remember that.
well, yeah, that. And I asked Sarah online today. She didn't respond because she said she didn't know what a mochi monkey was or
No.
a mochichi monkey. And I was like, well, did your mom even allow you to have toys as a kid? Because I remember Lindsay's room was like a museum and you.
Right.
It's very funny you say that. So I think what Jessica is referring to is we didn't have these really creative, crazy, messy rooms because our mom OCD. And you should see it with my kid. I'm like, paint wherever you want. Like, get this artificial snow all over the carpet. Sand, great.
Like
a lot of messy stuff to play with. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
the
like my room was
opposite.
always a mess. I was always decorating or making something. And I felt like your house was never like that. It was like American Girl doll, some books. And I just don't ever remember seeing toys.
We had to
were
put them.
there.
We had to put them away right away if we played with them, or my mom would clean. Like she'd be like right behind us picking up. She had definite OCD that runs in her family. That's a whole nother episode.
I'd like some of it.
I was gonna say though, one thing that made me annoyed is so my mom always says Lindsay was the handful out of all of us. So yeah, she would get these straight A's, but she could go party and then still do work or be reading a whole book. And I'm like, how does she do that? I would get caught and in trouble all the time, but she got more trouble than she was a little rebel. Remember that when Dad
Yeah.
came over with the
Yeah.
pots and pans?
Yeah. So we're sneaking boys in your house. I mean, it is true. And my fun fact about myself from high school is that I got most skillful skipper.
Really?
That was my superlative or whatever you say.
Because you could skip and not get in trouble for it.
Yes. So
That's interesting. Yeah, because you definitely don't seem like a rebel. Like your personality reminds me very much so of like a bohemian feel, like cool, calm, collect, easy breezy.
She is like that. She is, but
that
she
might be
can.
my social media presence.
I don't believe it at all.
I don't know if that's more real life.
I think it is.
You'll have to take a trip to San Francisco with me.
Yeah.
Lindsay is awesome. She always finds the cool things to do, places to hit up. Like we went to this bar that had a theme of the Grinch, and it was like the coolest arcade place, like old school games. Loved it. Like she always knows exactly what to do. And so basically, tell us about your traveling. You were like the first person in our family to really go up and leave on internships. So you started probably what, UT when you were still in high school? Like what
Yeah.
happened? Tell us about your, like how you got to the internshipping and what you started with in your career.
Yeah, so I went to UT while I was at Whitmer and I was working at Pizza Hut and all these places as a waitress. And I got into OU for journalism school, but that was kind of nerve-wracking because I hadn't really left home much and I didn't know many people who'd gone to college or gone through that process. So that was a big adjustment. Like I lived with my boyfriend at the time and I had been for a couple years. So I felt like I didn't fit in with the other kids at first. But eventually I adjusted. And then when I came home to Toledo for my breaks, I would waitress because I was paying off my student loans. And I ended up meeting this guy at Doolittle's when I was a server there. And he said the pizza sucked compared to New York pizza. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we're in Michigan. Who cares? And he put his business card on the table and it said Random House Book Publishing.
Oh,
Which
which
is
is so
like-
cool.
You know, Random House. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, I'm going to send you an email tomorrow in my resume. Like, I really want an internship there. I love reading. I love writing. And I sent him an email. It said, sorry, the Doolittle's pizza sucked. Then a few weeks later, this lady called me and she was like, it's Random House. You got the internship. And I didn't have the money to go. So mom afford it, but then there was a scholarship contest to write an essay, and I won it by writing about my waitressing experience, and I got to take the Amtrak train to New York and work there with all the kids from Harvard and Yale and all these,
Prestigious.
You had a bunch of luggage, Mom.
I had a bunch of luggage. I'm pretty sure I wore super short shorts on my first day and was like very unprofessional, but I had a great experience and I learned a lot.
That's
Did you-
amazing.
New York was fun, wasn't it? And then what happened after you went to New York? Did you have any exciting stories while you were there on your internship or no?
Yeah, so one of my most exciting stories is that I published a book about barefoot running and I had to help organize a barefoot run through New York.
Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that.
Yeah, and I got to meet some authors. And I met Ivan that summer, so that's how I ended up meeting my now husband.
So
and that's
I
how I
just
ended up in
stop you
California.
for 1 second and discuss this barefoot running. Like, who in their right freaking mind is going to run barefoot through New York?
I know, right? Dozens of people. So I don't know if you know Vibram shoes or if you've read anything about this, but back in the 2010s, it became very popular to run barefoot and to go around barefoot. I don't know if that's still a trend, actually, but it was really interesting.
Very cool. Okay. I just had to say that because I know everyone else is going to be thinking it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, wait a minute, isn't there like rats and stuff? No, that's
Needles, track.
I would do it. Maybe not. So then you went to that internship. You came back here. I know I got to go to OU. I went to Sibs weekend, and Lindsey was disgusted with the bathrooms. Briefly, what happened at that visit?
At the Sibs weekend?
Yeah, you can tell on me too.
Yeah, so I invite my sib, Sarah, and Sarah wants to smoke some weed in my dorm room. And I'm like,
God.
if we're supposed to do that, I can get in trouble for that. And she's like, don't worry, I'll just like blow it through the air conditioner. This is probably 3 or 4 a.m. after we went out all night. And then I get a knock at the door, and it's like the police saying that it smells like weed in my room. Sarah goes to the door, and she's like, I thought I smelled something weird in the hallway. And she's like, I'm her older sister, and I'm visiting.
My God.
Like school court for it, but right away I'm like, my older sister was here, and she said in the report that she thought she smelled something weird, and they apologized to me.
My God.
Like, we apologized to your family, and I got out of it.
Lindsey gave me the horrible idea. First off, a dorm's like a square closet. Just imagine the window. Straight across from the window is the door out into the hallway. So the air conditioner's on. I'm blowing the smoke into an air conditioner that's blowing straight to the hallway. It wasn't smart. We should have used the toilet paper roll with the fabric softener sheets in it.
Yeah, and I had a big picture of Bob Marley on my dorm wall. So
I was so out of shape, and there was so many hills. Now it's way worse, actually, but I'm in better shape in San Francisco. But OU, man, she took me to some house party. It was a lot of fun.
Oh my God, Sarah, you are a trip. I can only envision what was going on.
And then the bathrooms were so messy. She actually, didn't you use that to get out of the trouble that I almost got you in by saying, like, writing a story about how disgusting it was when you had Sibs weekend?
I don't really remember that, but I do remember that sharing a bathroom with like 20 other women who are all like 18 to 21 years old wasn't clean.
Oh gosh, no. That's everywhere. Actually, a lot of times, like, remember you'd go to those bar nights where it's packed and the girls' bathroom, everybody went to the men's because the girls were disgusting. So, yeah. What else can we talk about? Oh, yeah, one other thing you did in New York, but this was, see, it gets so confusing because you go back and forth. You saved people during Hurricane Sandy.
I mean, thanks for phrasing it that way. That makes me like...
You're a hero, Lindsey.
You pretended to be a doctor, like Dr. Ivan, didn't you? Kind of, in a way?
Yeah, so... Well, I wasn't supposed to be in this situation, but I was living in the med school dorms. I don't even know if I was actually legally living there at the time. I couldn't find a place to live for a few months, so I sort of crashed for 4 months in Ivan's dorm room. Eventually, I did move in there officially, and we got an apartment together, but I basically lived in med school dorms, even though I didn't go to med school. And Hurricane Sandy hit, and unfortunately, the hospital across the street got really affected and it started to get flooded. And they were like, cadavers are floating in the basement. Like,
my God.
crazy because the hospital wasn't prepared for a hurricane to hit since that never happens. And a lot of the sickest patients are actually on the highest floors. So they were like, we need people to volunteer to go evacuate the hospital. And so I'm pretty sure I was the first person to be like, of course we will, even though I wasn't actually
A dog relevant.
But, we went over there and we had to carry people down the stairs, like people who'd broken their hips or who were on oxygen or just delivered a baby. And they put them on like these plastic stretchers and we had to carry them down, 10, 15 flights of stairs.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone got out safely.
That's amazing.
It was interesting. It was a really eye-opening experience because, now I always say you should always have cash because money machines and stuff don't work when the electricity goes out. And
or we have an AI attack and everything goes down and we're like, what are we going to do with this plastic credit card?
Yeah, I mean, even emergency responders didn't even know there was another set of stairs because no one ever takes the stairs, right?
I love that.
There were actually several sets of stairs, but we only knew about 2 of the 3 until later on in the night. So, I mean, we really need to think carefully about how to live in these situations. But
yeah,
like I said, everyone was okay. It just was very eye-opening for me.
I want to build a bunker. Do you have any knowledge on that?
I think, did Brad have a bunker?
Yeah, we actually talk about that on one of our episodes.
We do. I told her it reminded me of Lovely Bones. Have you ever read that?
No, but I do like to read, so tell me more.
It's just a fictional story about a little girl that goes missing and like this this what I don't even know what to call him. I can't think right now. But a child molester. Yeah. He dug a hole and like had a whole house down there and no one could find him.
Wasn't it in the middle of a cornfield too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mom's seen the movie. It's a Lifetime movie actually too.
That sounds like a Lifetime movie.
Yeah. I can't really do Lifetime movies anymore.
I just can't believe Brad dug a hole in a field. I just can't even envision it.
That is funny. And we would touch on it more, but we can't because then we'll have 2 of the same conversation. But it was...
Sorry to interrupt.
That's the stuff you had time to do when you were in childhood and no internet.
Right?
That's my God, Lindsey. I love that. It's so true.
Yes. I'd be okay if the internet went out. Maybe not TikTok. Oh, wait. That's the internet. No, just kidding. Yeah, 12 hours. I never seen so many meltdowns on there.
Really?
So,
I didn't even notice, but I don't get on.
Oh my gosh, so many people were freaking. I mean, I can understand the people that make their money on it, but so many people, that's all I seen was, oh my gosh, TikTok. Oh my gosh.
They were crying. I get it.
Yeah, I don't really TikTok, so I wasn't too pressed. So then you went on another internship. We're kind of all over the place because you went to New York a few times. The Hurricane Sandy was when you lived there, obviously. But now we're backing up to when you took another internship. So this was after you did your New York internship. That's where you met Ivan. And then Ivan got you in connection to get your way to where you are and still live now, didn't he?
Yes. He helped me get an internship at the San Francisco Chronicle so I could come out to California.
What happened before your flight to California, Lindsey? What stress did you put me, your sister, under?
So it's a little hard to remember all the details, but I had this little summer playing with Ivan, and then we stopped talking to each other after a couple months because we lived in different states. We were in college, and I didn't really get in touch with the woman I was supposed to stay with during my internship until right before, and she didn't answer the phone.
Oh my!
So I was like, okay, I have about $500 to my name. I don't know anyone in California except this dude I don't even talk to anymore. What do I do? And I was like, I'm just going to get on the plane and wing it.
My God, no.
And I'm not going to tell my parents or anyone that I don't actually have a place to live.
That was so scary, Lindsey. That's number one goal. To let people know that you are.
And Jessica, she called me the night before, look, I'm going to San Francisco. I don't know where I'm going to live. I'm doing it, though. Do not tell mom. Could you imagine how stressed I was? Because
Oh my
I
God,
did
I'd
not
be telling
tell.
mom right away, as we all know.
And I didn't, but she was fine. But then I was scared because she had to stay with, like, what, a band and rats and on a couch.
You're lucky you weren't like raped or anything or kidnapped.
I don't ever remember being nervous about that decision. I was like on the plane, meeting people, having fun, and I ended up going to Berkeley where Ivan went to school, and he was at the movies, probably on a date or something.
Right.
Hey, I gotta come here and mingle and find a place to live. So I'm there, and I'm like, I'm in California. Who's got some weed? Like, is that what you guys for?
Yeah.
And I met this guy who's part of a reggae band, and they said that I could live on their couch for like a couple $100, and they were surfers and in a reggae band, and I moved in with them, and it was actually really fun. Our place was disgusting, and I'm pretty sure we had rats and mice, but I had a place to live.
At least
You
rats
called
and
me.
mice are cute.
Yeah. I think you called me and you're like, I'm pretty sure there's a rat running around. I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah, I guess that's been a theme in my life since I had mice in my apartment here last year too.
They just love you,
I know a
Lindsay.
lot about how to get rid of rodents.
Do you humanely trap them and let them go right outside your door?
Unfortunately not, but yeah.
My daughter had some in her house just a few weeks ago, my oldest, and she sent a picture of it to me, and it was like sitting on a curtain rod as the cats were sitting below it staring at it. It looked like a cartoon. I was dying.
Oh, you're kidding.
This poor mouse is like right now in fear of his life.
No, it is the first thing they say to do though, is get a pet.
Yeah, her black kid eats them, like almost all of it.
I had my first mouse come out of the fireplace when I was like 9 months pregnant, about to go into labor. So
Oh gosh.
I had time to think about it. And then the whole first 2 weeks of me being a first-time mom, there were mice popping out. So
Oh
How
god.
weird is that?
yeah, it
I
was a bit
remember.
tough.
That was crazy. How is my little nephew? I love him. I miss him.
He's
But-
great, talking a lot more.
I know. I was like, I kind of hope he's going to interrupt our
Does he-
recording if he's home.
Does he only speak French? Like I saw one of the videos you had when you were all on a hike or, doing something nature-y. And does he only speak French right now?
No, he speaks both. We tend to speak French more as a family. I don't know. It just sort of worked out that way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's going to be hearing English a lot growing up here in America. So we're trying to teach him as much as we can. But he speaks both.
I think it's so crazy that you're not French speaking, but by the time your son is probably graduated, you're going to be fluent. I can see it. Are you almost fluent now?
I wouldn't say I'm almost fluent, but I do understand a lot, and I speak probably level 3 or 4, which is funny to me because in high school, I was like, I'm going to take German. French seems like the bougie language, and we had freedom fries after 9/11 at McDonald's in our neighborhood. But now fast forward, and I'm like half French.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I absolutely love that. Does your husband have dual citizenship?
Yes, he does.
He does. That's so fancy. I love it.
I'm going to
Lindsay's
try
taking me.
citizenship here soon.
You and my brother-in-law are going to take me to France one year when I hit the lottery.
Or when Lindsay publishes her poetry.
Yeah. Publish us a #1 seller that takes care of your whole family.
Right, that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, if you need any help on the side, I am pretty busy though with podcasts and work and everything.
I think you're the one who's becoming famous through your art.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it. Sarah's so cute. She speaks to the universe so freely. Like, we're going to be famous. And I'm over here like, maybe, maybe not.
We
I
are
believe-
in our own way. My dad's our #1 follower. What do you say about that?
I love it.
Yes. So then San Francisco, crazy. homeless trip. And then what else, Lindsay? Oh yeah, actually I wanted to ask about what you did. So you went into school majoring in journalism, didn't you? Or Mark, what was it? Come on. I think it was journalism,
I
right?
studied journalism, and originally I wanted to do magazine journalism, but they were like, that's a terrible career idea in a recession. So I studied advertising. And I did do creative writing classes though, and that's still my passion. I ended up going into sales and marketing at tech startups, like everybody else.
You had some cool experiences too throughout some of your jobs. I remember the one where you worked for Walmart and they used like that eye thing. You let us play like we had to learn how to stock the groceries and stuff, but it was like all through those goggles.
Like a
So I worked
VR, yeah. VR.
What are you saying?
VR, the goggles. I worked in VR, but specifically for jobs training.
I love that.
A bunch of NFL players and NBA players who started the company to train athletes, which I know nothing about. And then they're like, hey, let's bring in this girl and start training employees. And so it was cool. It was a fun job, and I got to see some interesting things there.
So
Is that
love that. Can I just jump in here real quick? So did you watch, because I know you don't watch a lot of TV, but Sarah and I were watching this documentary about Bam from Jackass. Are you familiar with any of them?
I'm familiar with him. I used to have a crush on him back in the day.
Oh my God, your sister said the same thing, you little dork.
Before he was gothy. Lindsay probably liked him when he was gothy.
Yeah, I think so.
So he is really not doing the best. He's on drugs. So there was this lady named Lima, and she was trying to teach people to overcome homelessness and drug addiction and stuff through VR. Do you think that's even possible?
Yes, actually, I've seen a lot of research on this because Stanford has a whole virtual lab where they do study
drug addiction, I'm thinking. How would you?
Yeah, so when you learn more by doing than you do by reading or watching, because when it's a first-hand experience, it's happening to you, you retain more. And so VR can be used for a lot of things, but they do say that it can improve empathy. We had a simulation to help doctors practice breaking bad news to patients, especially kids, which is very unfortunate, but it's not something you can practice. They can't pay child actors. It's illegal. So how do you practice that? Obviously those are very situations. So there's a lot of research around how well VR works for.
That's crazy. And what you just said was so in depth. It's so crazy to me, the different jobs that are out there that none of us have any idea because it's, just not part of our life to realize that's even a job,
I know. I would not have known either. And to be honest, I was traveling all over with like multiple suitcases of headsets and stuff. But we did cool things. We also did a training for an insurance company. They had this house that they would have to flood and set on fire to train claims adjusters in VR, like evaluate damage in a flooded basement. And so fun fact, it's actually one of the technologies that's supposed to help us reduce like unnecessary flights and stuff. So I still am a big believer. It's been a little slow to get adopted. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever tried it or played around with it for fun, but I think training's a pretty cool use case for it.
It does sound amazing. My kids have one. I've never done it. In fact, we bought one. I think it's when it first came out, it was like $300-$400 and it would never attach to Facebook because then it was always attached to Facebook for some reason. The one we had, it was like the Meta Quest or something. And so I never got to use it. I'm a little sad.
It's been changing a lot over the years, but it was definitely not an easy job to go and demo for like 70 people at Starbucks or whatever.
Blind person trying to do things. It was
a bit of a hustle, but it was interesting. I got to see some cool things though. I got to see the new Glenn rocket that was just in the news.
I got to walk a plank when that virtual reality let me walk a plank. That was scary. It literally made me scared.
Yes.
It freaked me out.
I guess that would help with fears. Like, I'm extremely afraid of snakes. I feel like I should not have said this. We might edit that out because I don't want to be tortured by anybody with this. But I am terrified. And maybe like a VR could work with something like that. You're right. never even thought about, these options and tapping into that. That's so intense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you work with, you said you work in tech now, so do you work on like the stuff that this AI, like how technology, like are you working on the futuristic stuff that we've been researching? Like I had to ask my chat GPT, like what jobs will still be existent? Because once they get that under control, there are a lot of changes that are gonna.
Yeah, I've actually worked in AI for like 8 years now. So for me, it's funny that now all of a sudden everybody is talking about it.
Like, I've had this
It's
knowledge.
old school.
Yeah. And, I have a lot of thoughts on this topic, but I'm not sure where this is all going to go. I can say that you've been using it for much longer time than you realize in a lot of products.
Right.
And that for the most part, it's helping my life significantly. I do think it's going to change the makeup of jobs and that there are going to be some negative repercussions, but I think it's also very helpful. And I'm still learning all the ways I can use it. Like right now, my favorite way to use ChatGPT is to just not waste so many groceries. So I'll be like, this is what I have in my fridge. What can I cook?
My God, I love that, Lindsay.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
My resolution is not to quit wasting food.
I think this all the time, as I literally dumped like 2 whole boxes of cereal out because someone took a bowl, put it back, and like never ate it again. And I hate that. So I usually try to throw it out to the birds and stuff, but it does feel extremely wasteful.
Yeah, I use ChatGPT for that, and now I have the Instapot, and I've come a long way from, I used to not know how to cook or anything.
Really?
Yeah. She's good now. Mom told me about the Instapot. It makes the best boiled eggs.
Ooh, I did not know that.
And they peel right off. Yeah, that's the only thing I knew how to do in mine.
That's funny. But I can't even find eggs here these days. Can you
Oh, I forgot about that.
Chickens. I miss my chickens so much as I'm paying $5 for a dozen eggs.
My mom told me they were 20. I was like, I didn't see any $20 eggs. Are they in California, Lindsay?
They've always been expensive here, but literally the last few times I went to the grocery store, I couldn't find eggs.
Crazy.
But I do like them though, and I do want to put some hard-boiled eggs in the Instapot.
So if you were to have eggs there, how much do you think they would be?
I don't know, $6 maybe.
Okay, that's not outrageous.
But I feel like it's been around that for a good 5-7 years.
Yeah, my family always used to say, whatever's happening in California will make its way here just like a year from now.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but true. And recently when I went home, I was like, wow, y'all's prices are close to ours.
Because they did go up.
Yeah, for sure. So sorry for interrupting on the AI thing, but I do honestly think that AI it might be hard at first because I think it's going to just explode and then all of a sudden it's going to be everywhere and we're all going to be so confused.
Yeah, in general, and I think this goes back to the hurricane experience, I don't like being overly reliant on the internet and electricity. Like, I live in San Francisco, tech capital of the world, and my internet goes out all the time. So I do think it's important to not be too dependent on it. But I do have to say, especially as a young mom who's super busy, like I don't have much extra time to be doing things like finding a hotel that actually allows a toddler to stay there or whatever. So I use it as a little assistant and it's been helpful for me.
That's amazing. I do love
I was just telling Jessica, like the operator feature or whatever they have, you can basically just be like, book me a hotel from this date to this date. And can yours take your computer over and like clean your files out yet and stuff for you?
Those things all exist. I don't really use it that way just yet. I definitely use it to edit videos and photos and to create content for work, all of those types of things. The first use case that I started working with was transcribing conversations for customer support teams so that they could better help you when you call the customer
chat.
Not chatbots, but helping people on the phone.
Okay.
And better understand how to answer your question and what to do and like make sure that you weren't screaming into the void, that someone got to read your feedback. So I've always worked with new technologies in like training and helping with the workforce. And I like that. I think there's there's a lot of fun stuff happening there.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Very cool.
Enough about your work talk here, which is exciting. Let's get on to like the travels. I know you've been a lot of places. Lindsey has always been like the risk taker, as you see with going somewhere without a place to live. And you also will travel like the country, like with what? Just a backpack on your back? You'll go stay in hostels, like that kind of stuff. Like what are some of your favorite experiences of your these trips you've taken?
That is such a difficult question, but I have to say, I always like traveling places alone. I just think it's cool to have to rely on yourself and figure things out. And I've done a few things alone. I went to Burning Man for the first time alone, which is kind of uncommon, but I highly recommend it.
Tell people that may not know just briefly what Burning Man is.
Burning Man, it's basically a 70,000 person city that is built over a 2-week period in the desert, full of art and experiences and music. And you go and there's no money. Everyone brings what they need to survive, and they serve food and they create things. And you're just kind of gifting to each other and living in a community. So it's a mix of a party and like a spiritual,
like a hippie
kind of, but it's huge, right? Like it's
it.
the size of Toledo, and I love it too. There's a lot of art there, so I go with a camp that used to build a fire-breathing dragon, and now they built a phoenix, like a big
rising
fire. And we just have DJs on there and roll around and throw parties. It's so fun. It's amazing.
I know a lot of famous.
In theory, I don't think I could do it. I think I'm not like your everyday believer in like human kindness. I don't know if I could do it.
Camping, that's the first. Do you like camping in extreme conditions is the first question.
Yeah,
Jessica.
That just scares the crap out of me. Like, I do not have faith in other people.
Which you do get some people. I mean, it depends on probably what group of people you're with, but I'm sure there's scary circumstances where people had to step up and save a life. And so, yeah, it would be scary. I think that would totally be outside of your comfort zone, Jess.
Yeah, it would.
Mine
You'd be
too.
very surprised about how well oiled it is. But the people who go tend to be very prepared.
Yeah.
So it's not like a normal festival where you're walking around with like a bunch of drunk 20-year-olds. Like they can't really afford to be there, which is something that a lot of people complain about when it comes to Burning Man. They say this isn't accessible to a lot of people. It's expensive. And,
what is the average cost of a ticket?
I mean, when I went by myself with like a backpack and a pup tent and some water, which by the way is like a ridiculous way to show up there. You're supposed to have a lot more gear than that. I spent probably, I don't know, $700 to $1,200 on the ticket and my supplies, but I think most people pay more.
Probably like $600 or something.
It can range. Now, I will say there's a festival I really want to go to in Michigan that I have never been to.
Do you want to share the name?
Michigan Festival.
I think I heard of it during all my podcast research.
Electric Forest.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
I have too. People love that.
Let's do an episode there, June 19th.
Really?
Jess, you'll go if I go.
Well, I'm definitely not opposed. Is it only like a day?
It's usually a weekend, but
you know you're going to say something crazy.
No sleeping. She likes her naps. No napping.
I am like an 80-year-old lady over here. Kind of ridiculous.
Speaking of snakes,
I would love it.
Jessica will love the story about when you stepped. Isn't an anaconda a big, huge snake?
So it wasn't an anaconda, but I was on an anaconda tour and I stepped on a boa constrictor.
Oh, yeah, boa.
Well, that's terrifying too.
I was on an anaconda tour in Bolivia in the rainforest, and I like to travel. I like to do all sorts of group tours, and I really love going into the jungle and like off the beaten path places, mountains, places with different cultures and things.
Right.
So I did this trip to Ruinbaque in Bolivia in the deep jungle middle of nowhere. And on the anaconda tour, they were like, anacondas are sleepy, they're lazy, we're going to see one, it's not going to do anything. And we did. And
Oh, you did? I was wondering.
like I saw one a foot away from me and it was just taking a nap.
So what was
What?
it as big as? Like, if you looked over and saw it, like, body or head, what would it?
I can't even, I mean, I don't think I saw the end of it. It was like 20 foot. It was huge. It was huge. And it was like, but it was just sleeping. They're very lazy. And so,
Oh,
but then we were
God.
walking back to our boat through tall grass and I stepped on something squishy and I did not realize, and I hope I don't really terrify you, Jessica, but I didn't realize how fast snakes are.
Oh, they are.
And I only had like 6 seconds, if anything, to run away from this thing. But I remember looking down thinking, oh, I hope it's not its face. And there it was. It was the mouth of a big 12-foot or so boa constrictor. And so I started running backwards and it chased me and it stood up and tried to bite me in the stomach. And I had a stick in my hand and we just stared at each other. And I gotta say, I'm proud of myself because I looked at that thing and I was like, you better not, I will kill you. And it just slithered away. And so after that, I almost fainted. Yeah, I actually like snakes now. I wear a snake ring and I have a poem about snakes because they represent rebirth.
Yeah.
And they actually represent positive things.
I have heard that, but I cannot embrace it yet.
Brad
It was
lost his.
great.
When we were kids, Brad's snake got lost, and then it got to the driveway, and Mom ran it over. I don't know if she ever told Brad about it.
I didn't know that.
Well, I'm glad she ran it over because if it got back in the house, it would have been really sad for you guys.
I'm pretty sure that's the way it went, but who knows? I feel like I put things in my memory sometimes that aren't really true.
That is a real thing, Sarah. People do that because, when you are thinking about something that happened before, you're filling in the blanks, right? It's not, and that's why they don't rely on witnesses after the fact because we fill in the blanks, start making up stories. So don't.
Yeah, like I wasn't there when Lauren fell out of the car. But you also had another, so after this, I want to know your most beautiful place outside of the country. But first, you had another experience that was near death, I think, in my opinion. And it was a very important day when you were in Africa, right? Tell us that.
Yes. So I went to Botswana on cheapafricatours.com or something.
Oh my God, that sounds like a trap.
I was in my 20s and Ivan and I went there and stayed in a tent with a small group tour. It was an adventure for sure. There were lots of animals around and you did not get out of your tent at night, but it was insane. I saw so many animals and there aren't even words for how cool that is. But on our last night, we stayed in the Kalahari Desert, and you go there to be under the stars in the middle of nowhere. And apparently, there's not supposed to be animals there, although I've since seen some lions in the Kalahari Desert during
serious?
on TV that's not true. But anyway, that's what they told us. So Ivan was like, can we walk away from the camp a little bit? And he wanted to propose. So he proposed under the stars, and not to be a little TMI here, but we were going around. It's the least populated country on Earth or something. Then we got lost, like very lost in the desert after this. And it was so dark that we couldn't find our way back to our camp. And we ended up being lost for the whole night into the next morning when it was like 104 degrees out and we had no water and supplies. So it was actually really scary.
That's like a movie. I just watched that a few weeks ago. No,
I couldn't even watch a movie like that. Like whenever I read articles about this happening, it really makes me sad because I realize now how it's easy to get lost in the desert. And I told Ivan we're supposed to stay in the same spot and not move.
Yeah.
But you left it right after the engagement, probably.
Yeah. So I was scared. I was so scared, I think I threw up.
Gosh.
And maybe had to go to the bathroom. But anyway, I was terrified. And luckily we were rescued. But
are these like village people, like villages, like where they don't have a cell phone? Like you couldn't pick up your phone and be like, hey, I got lost. I'm over here.
Yeah, no cell phone. This is like as middle of nowhere as it gets. Like, yeah.
I would be, I mean, I can't, I don't even know. I would be
I
like,
couldn't even sleep. Were the stars pretty though?
Amazing. We sat there and planned our whole wedding. But I have to say, I got really scared when the sun came up and we really couldn't see anything. Like, I thought there's no way we're that far from the camp. But just, when you get lost, you really should try not to walk too far, because before you know it, you could get super turned around. That is how people get into trouble.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that just really hits home for some reason. It resonates with me. I feel that in my soul. That is so scary.
I watch all those alone shows, which is actually a show. So even though it's scary and they really are alone, it's nothing like if they were really alone. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you can shoot a flare and get somebody to save you.
Because they have the camera man there with the.
Well, no, a lot of times they don't.
No.
They do go away on these shows. It's pretty intense, but they are not far away, I don't think. But they're not there. Like people can get hurt.
Yeah,
I don't think they would air those ones. I haven't heard it happening yet.
I'm glad you made it back, Lindsey, and you got to marry
Yes.
your, what do you call that? The man of your dreams.
Yeah.
My boo.
Yeah, exactly.
My boo. My
Your man.
bae.
What do you call him?
I've always called him Boo.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, she does call him boo. Yes, she does. That's funny.
You're so cute.
So, Lindsey, with being all this adventurous, you ended up, you guys got impregnated, and now you have my little nephew. How has becoming a mom changed your perspective on life? Has it changed your perspective?
Oh my goodness. I've loved becoming a mom. And I'm not going to lie, I was one of those people who thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to do with this? Like, I'm a very independent, free-spirited person, but I really loved it. And I think my approach has been just try and keep it fun and, keep it lighthearted and adventurous. And if I get stressed, I try and put on good music. And I do have terrible times. Like Christmas was not the easiest time for me with a toddler. And there are days and moments. But, I'm a little bit older and I think I waited a while. In fact, I probably would have had a kid sooner, but it was the pandemic. And I was like, no, maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been weird.
But yeah, and I'm lucky. I have family out here. A lot of people are not in that situation. And I also saw you have 3 kids young, right? And so I know that.
Oh, that was like your birth control. Oh,
Yeah.
that was
control. That's why I waited until 34, 35 to have kids.
Sarah's life honestly stressed me out for her. I feel that.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That
was
for
a
sure.
lot in such a short amount of time.
Hence why nothing really stresses me out anymore. I'm pretty much like, how can it stress me out? I've had some moments in the days, but luckily I have a supportive family, so that it wasn't for that. My mom, aka controlling my bank account. No.
I learned a lot from Sarah, and if I could take care of 3 kids when I was 12 years old, I could take care of 1 at 35.
I love it. That's awesome. And he is the sweetest little bug. You guys are just the cutest family. It's like you're picture perfect. I love it.
I know.
I would not say that in reality, but I will say we have fun. And yeah, I mean, it has changed things a lot, right? Like I used to go out very late and I traveled far and stuff, and I just don't care about those things as much. Like I still like them. I went to a rave when I was pregnant, which was really fun and interesting. But, I just do little things around California now and Ohio, actually. I had a great trip back to Toledo. I'm actually super impressed with how much stuff there is to do with kids there.
Yeah, it is very family friendly, no doubt. I agree.
It's definitely gotten better since you growing up back then and us, of course, us growing up. So it's good to see it, fruition into something.
I agree.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I just love your approach. You have such a cool, calm, and collect demeanor. And I think that's what everyone strives for. But I love how you make it look so effortless. You really do. And I mean, I know that's what social media is for. But then getting to talk to you, I think, you're just so personable. It's amazing.
Well,
and
thanks.
brave.
Not always calm. In fact, I have CPTSD. I don't know if you know what that is.
I
It's a
do
version-
not. What's the
It's a
C?
version of PTSD. And I feel like why I'm so calm now is because I can get very deregulated. And so I had to study like a lot of meditation and do therapy and all of this stuff. And that's helped me a lot. So that is why now I have such calm, ways of being. And I've read a lot of books and I've done courses.
So, would you want to do a session of meditation with Sarah and I over Google and show us how to do it?
Yeah, I've never meditated.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried, but I
Is that
just
weird, or do you feel like it's more of a solitary type of deal?
No, I would totally do it. Let's do it over Google and share it with the trashies.
Yeah. I would love that.
You can do it some special way, right? Like my favorite way to practice mindfulness is how I put it, is every time I get in the shower, I spend like a minute just, not thinking about anything but the water just hitting my body. And that's a reminder for me right in the morning to build in these little moments throughout the day where I'm not thinking. And it's not about not thinking. In fact, sometimes mindfulness is being aware that, I'm really nervous about this thing. Why is that? And spending time meditating, actually allowing yourself to go there, because sometimes our problems are from trying not to think. So just being present and being aware, self-aware are things that I love about it. But yeah, I'll totally do a session with you guys. And
we did something at Lindsay's baby shower that was really cool, and everybody in the room was emotional after it. It was like sound. Was that like meditation?
Sound healing. I did a sound healing baby shower.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to do something different, and I wanted to surround Mateo with good energy, and I invited all my friends, and this lady did a little sound healing. It wasn't long, but it was just a way for me to be able to be with my friends before my life changed, and there's another person that's always around now, and just it was a more spiritual thing. I don't know. I'm a big fan. I don't
know.
It's very cool.
It definitely gave you like the emotions. Just, I don't know, something about the music and the relaxing and just doing. Yeah, I don't know. It was cool experience. So yes, we do have to do that. I don't have any more questions. Lindsay, did I not touch on something that you wanted to touch on this interview?
No, for the most part. I will say that for people who are looking to do more traveling and adventurous things, I would just say don't wait.
Yeah.
Do something, even if it's small, even if it's just, hike in your neighborhood or what have you. If you have to go alone, look up a group tour. I use G Adventures a lot. I've done lots of group tours. I like staying in hostels in other countries. You'll pay less, but you'll also be surrounded by other people who are traveling. And, just get out there and try something. And it's going to go better than you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I told Ron, I was like, because he's like, oh, we're not going to travel. I was like, no, I've never been out of the country. Like, we're going somewhere. Like, I need this. I feel like I need it. And I agree with that. It's like you always think you'll do it later, and you just never know what later is.
Yeah,
Yes.
I met many people in their 40s and 50s who had kids out of the house and they were just doing it for the first time, staying in hostels. And honestly, some of them could go for months. Like they did it in between jobs. So if you're ever out of work, like definitely take a few months and like do it properly. That's what I do in between jobs.
That is so
Yes.
cool. And did I cut you off? Did you ever tell me what your CPTSD is?
The C.
Oh. Yeah.
The C.
It's basically a version of PTSD that can happen when you have a lot of little traumatic experiences. Mine are related to like growing up in Toledo, seeing, being jumped in high school and being in fights and having a friend shot and all of that. And so I actually think a lot of people who grew up in Toledo probably have this or know people who do.
Yeah.
But, when you're around those experiences, you can be extra sensitive to noises, facial expressions, certain things, and it can really dysregulate you and cause you to, just not be in the present moment, to have really anxious thoughts, unrealistic beliefs too, almost like paranoia.
Yeah.
So I got really into the mindfulness stuff to get better at handling that. And I just can't say enough good things about it. So let's definitely do a meditation.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. And call me later or tomorrow.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, Lindsay.